My wife served me divorce papers on Christmas Day, but when she opened my gift, her smirk vanished. Let me back up. My wife Veronica had been planning this for months. I knew because she'd stopped trying to hide it. Separate bank account? Check. Apartment lease in her name only? Check. Her engagement ring mysteriously disappearing from the jewelry box? Check. The thing is, I didn't fight it. After 11 years of marriage, I was exhausted. She'd been having an affair with her personal trainer, Trevor. Very original, I know. She didn't even bother denying it when I asked. Just shrugged and said, "We grew apart." What really killed me was the timing. She insisted we spend Christmas morning together because of tradition. Our tradition. The one where we opened gifts while drinking coffee in our pajamas. Except this year, she showed up in full makeup, designer outfit, recording on her phone. For the lawyer, she explained, setting it on the mantle. Documentation that I tried to keep things civil. She handed me an envelope first. "Merry Christmas," she said with that smile I used to love. Inside were divorce papers requesting 60% of everything. Our house that I'd renovated with my dad every weekend for 2 years. My grandfather's vintage car collection. Even my 401k from before we met. Her lawyer had been thorough. Turns out in our state, she could claim emotional damages for my work schedule. I'm a paramedic. I work nights and weekends because that's the job, but apparently, my absence made her suffer. Worth about $340,000 in suffering, according to page 7. "Your turn," she said, gesturing to the small box I'd placed under our tree. She opened it slowly, playing for the camera. Inside was a USB drive and a handwritten note. Her face went white. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. The USB contained 6 months of bank statements. Her bank statements. See, Trevor wasn't just her trainer. He was also running a subscription scam, stealing credit card information from gym members, including Veronica's friends. And my wife wasn't just sleeping with him, she was his partner. $470,000 in fraudulent charges traced back to accounts she controlled. My note was simple. "I've already given copies to the FBI. Your lawyer should receive their subpoena tomorrow. Merry Christmas." She tried to grab the USB drive, but I'd made 12 copies. Sent them to her parents, her lawyer, my lawyer, and 3 different federal agencies. Her hands were shaking as she read the note again. That's when her phone started buzzing. Trevor, probably. Or maybe her parents. "You can't do this," she said. "We're married. Spousal privilege. Doesn't cover conspiracy to commit fraud," I finished. I checked with 3 different attorneys, very thoroughly. I'd spent the last 4 months working with a forensic accountant, a retired FBI agent I'd met on a call, and a lawyer who specialized in financial crimes. Every transaction, every victim, every fake company Trevor had created. Veronica's signature was on 34 different documents. The coffee in my cup had gone cold, but I took a sip anyway. She was crying now, mascara running down her face, her phone buzzing relentlessly. Outside, I could hear a car pulling up. Her parents, right on schedule. I'd invited them, told them I had important news to share about their daughter's future. "Here's what happens next," I said quietly. "You're going to walk out that door with nothing. No settlement, no house, no collections, or you're going to prison for 7 to 10 years. Your choice." She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. The doorbell rang. Her mother's voice called out, "Veronica, sweetie." I stood up, grabbed my coat from the rack. "Oh, and Veronica? Trevor's already turned state's witness. Gave you up yesterday in exchange for a reduced sentence. Guess you both grew apart." Her face crumbled completely. I walked past her toward the door, leaving her sobbing on the couch, still holding that empty gift box. As I reached for the doorknob, my phone buzzed. A text from my lawyer. "FBI raid on Trevor's apartment happening now. They found something else. Call me immediately." I stepped outside into the cold December air. Veronica's parents were walking up the driveway, their faces bright with holiday cheer. Her mother carried a casserole dish. Her father had a wrapped present under his arm. "Good morning," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Thanks for coming." "Of course, dear," her mother said, leaning in for a hug. "Veronica said you had wonderful news to share." I could hear Veronica inside, trying to compose herself, probably wiping away the mascara, attempting to look presentable. But her phone kept buzzing, and buzzing, and buzzing. "Actually," I said, holding the door open for them, "Veronica has something she needs to tell you both. I think you'll want to sit down." I called my lawyer from the driveway. He answered on the first ring. "Tell me," I said. "They found a second set of books in Trevor's apartment, hidden behind a false panel in his closet." His voice was tight with excitement. "Your wife wasn't just helping with the credit card fraud. She was running an identity theft ring. 23 victims so far. 3 of them are elderly. 1 is in hospice care." My stomach turned. "How long?" "At least 2 years, maybe longer. The FBI's digital forensics team is still pulling data." Through the window, I could see Veronica's parents standing in our living room. Her mother had dropped the casserole. Her father was reading something on Veronica's phone, his face turning purple. "There's more," my lawyer continued. "They found emails between Veronica and Trevor discussing you, specifically discussing what would happen after the divorce was finalized." "What do you mean?" "They were planning to file a wrongful death lawsuit, claim you were negligent in your medical care somehow, stage an accident during one of your shifts, then sue the city for millions." I leaned against my truck. The cold metal against my back kept me grounded, kept me from going back inside and doing something I'd regret. "They had timelines," he said, "target dates, insurance policy numbers. They'd been tracking your schedule for months." That explained why Veronica had suddenly started asking about my shifts, about which hospitals I was assigned to, about my partner rotation. The FBI wants to meet with you this afternoon, my lawyer said. 2 o'clock, Federal Building downtown. They need your testimony about her behavior patterns, any suspicious activities you noticed. I'll be there. I hung up as Veronica's father stormed out of the house. His face was red, veins bulging in his neck. He'd always been proud of his daughter, bragged about her yoga studio, her perfect life, her successful marriage. Did you know? He shouted at me. Did you know what she was doing? Not until 4 months ago. He grabbed my jacket. And you said nothing? You let us keep giving her money? She borrowed $50,000 from us last year. Said it was for business expansion. I gently removed his hands. I was gathering evidence, making sure the case was airtight. If I'd said anything too early, she would have destroyed everything and disappeared. Her mother appeared in the doorway, mascara streaming down her face just like her daughter's. Like mother, like daughter, I thought darkly. She's saying it's all a mistake. Her mother sobbed. She's saying you framed her, that you're trying to destroy her because of the affair. Check your credit cards, I said quietly. Both of you. Check every account, every statement for the last 3 years. I think you'll find some interesting charges. Her father's face went white. Oh God, February 2023, her mother whispered. That cruise to Alaska. We didn't book that. Veronica said it must have been fraud, that she'd handle it with the credit card company. She did handle it, I said. She kept the money. Inside, Veronica was screaming now. Full breakdown, the kind that makes neighbors call the police. I could hear glass breaking. Probably my grandmother's china cabinet, the one I'd asked her not to touch 100 times. My phone rang again. Different number this time. Federal area code. This is Special Agent Diana Foster, FBI. Am I speaking with the homeowner? Yes, ma'am. We have a warrant to search your residence. We're 3 minutes out. I need you and everyone else to exit the property immediately. Understood. My wife's parents are inside. I'll get them out. I walked back to the door. Through the window, I could see Veronica tearing apart the living room, looking for something. More USB drives, probably, or any evidence she might have hidden and forgotten about. Everyone needs to leave, I announced, stepping inside. FBI's on the way. Veronica froze mid-destruction, a framed photo of our wedding day in her hand. She'd been about to throw it. You can't let them in, she said. Her voice had changed. Desperate now, not angry. Tell them you need time. Tell them anything. Why would I do that? Because I'm still your wife. Because we made vows. The same vows you broke when you started sleeping with Trevor? The same vows you violated when you planned my murder? Her mother gasped. Murder? Ask her about the emails, I said. Ask her about the accident they were planning. The wrongful death lawsuit. The insurance money. Veronica lunged at me. Her parents caught her, held her back. She was screaming, clawing at them, completely unhinged. You ruined everything, she shrieked. We had it all planned. You were supposed to just sign the papers and disappear. I'm a paramedic, I said calmly. I've seen enough bad situations to know when I'm in one. I've also learned how to document everything. 3 black SUVs pulled up outside. Agents in FBI jackets emerged, moving with practiced efficiency. One more thing, I said, pulling out my own phone. That camera you set up on the mantle? The one recording for your lawyer? I've been recording too. Everything you just said. Every threat. Every admission. Her face went slack. I learned from the best, I said, gesturing to her. You taught me how important documentation is. Agent Foster was at the door now. I let her in, showed her my identification, and explained the situation. Veronica's parents stood frozen in shock. Veronica herself had collapsed on the floor, sobbing into the carpet. Mr. Hayes, Agent Foster said, we'll need you to come with us to give a formal statement. Your in-laws as well, if they're willing. Of course. They led Veronica out in handcuffs. She'd stopped crying now, just stared ahead, blank and empty. Her mother tried to follow, but an agent held her back gently. She'll be processed downtown, the agent explained. You can see her after booking, but not today. Probably not for a few days. I watched them drive away. 11 years of marriage ending in handcuffs and federal charges. Part of me felt satisfied. The larger part felt empty. My phone buzzed. My brother. I'd texted him earlier, told him to watch the news. Holy shit, he said when I answered. It's all over the local stations. Paramedic's wife arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. Are you okay? I'm fine. Mom and Dad want to know if you're coming for dinner tonight. Mom's making her lasagna. Normal, regular, family dinner. It sounded impossible and perfect at the same time. Yeah, I said. I'll be there. The FBI processed me at the Federal Building. 3 hours of questions, signed statements, and evidence verification. They showed me transaction records I hadn't seen before. Bank accounts in both Veronica's and Trevor's names. Shell companies, fake businesses. It was worse than I'd thought. We've identified 47 victims so far, Agent Foster said. Some lost their life savings. One woman had her entire retirement account drained. I had no idea it was that extensive. We believe you. Your cooperation over the last 4 months has been invaluable. Without your evidence, we might never have connected all the pieces. It started with a call I'd responded to back in August. Elderly woman, suspected heart attack. Turned out to be a panic attack triggered by discovering her identity had been stolen. She'd shown me the bank statements, the fraudulent accounts, all opened at a gym in my neighborhood. Trevor's gym. I'd asked a casual question, found out she'd signed up for personal training sessions. Gave them her information for insurance purposes. Within weeks, her credit cards were maxed out. 1 victim became 2, 2 became 5, all from the same gym, all with the same trainer. I didn't want to believe Veronica was involved. Not at first, but then I found a credit card in her purse. Not hers, someone else's. When I asked about it, she'd laughed it off. Said a friend had left it behind after lunch, she was going to return it. The friend didn't exist. I hired a private investigator, former cop, specialized in financial crimes. Within 2 weeks, he traced everything back to accounts Veronica controlled. The affair with Trevor wasn't romantic. It was business. They'd been partners long before they'd been lovers. We'll need you to testify, Agent Foster said. Probably several times. This case is going to trial. Whatever you need. I left the federal building at 6:47 p.m. The sun had already set. Christmas lights twinkled on the buildings downtown, cheerful and oblivious. My parents' house smelled like garlic and basil when I walked in. Mom pulled me into a hug, held me longer than usual. "My boy," she whispered. "My brave boy." Dad clapped me on the shoulder, said nothing, didn't need to. My brother handed me a beer. We sat at the kitchen counter while Mom finished the lasagna. "The house?" my brother asked. "Still mine. Her name wasn't on the deed. Dad made sure of that when we bought it." Dad nodded from his chair. "Didn't trust her, not after she threw that fit at your wedding about the prenup." I'd forgotten about that. Veronica had cried for hours, said I didn't really love her if I needed legal protection. Her parents had backed her up. My parents had stood firm. "Smart man," I said. "Suspicious man," Dad corrected. She gave me bad vibes from day one. Too perfect, too polished. Women like that are usually hiding something. Mom swatted him with a dish towel. "Not all pretty women are criminals, Henry. No, but the ones who cry on command usually are." We ate dinner like a normal family. Passed plates, shared stories. My nephew showed me his new video game. My niece complained about her math teacher. Nobody mentioned Veronica except once when my nephew asked where Aunt Ronnie was. "She's not your aunt anymore," his mother said gently. "She made some bad choices." "Did she go to timeout?" "Something like that, buddy." I stayed late, helping Mom clean up while Dad and my brother watched a basketball game. Normal, comfortable, home. "You knew," I said to Mom as we loaded the dishwasher. "Didn't you?" She dried her hands slowly. "I knew something was wrong. The way she looked at you sometimes. Like you were an obstacle, not a partner. Why didn't you say anything? Would you have listened?" She had a point. I'd been so in love at the beginning, blind to the red flags. The way Veronica flirted with men who had money, the way she calculated the value of every gift, every gesture, the way she kept detailed spreadsheets of our finances but could never remember my birthday. "I'm sorry," Mom said. "I should have tried harder. You tried plenty. I wasn't ready to hear it." I drove home at midnight. The house was quiet. Still, FBI had finished their search hours ago, but they'd left everything in disarray. Couch cushions overturned, drawers emptied, pictures removed from walls. I started cleaning, one room at a time, methodical, therapeutic. Around 2 a.m. my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Hello? It's me, Veronica, calling from jail." "Don't hang up," she said quickly. "Please, just listen." I should have hung up. Instead, I sat down on the couch we'd bought together 7 years ago. "I'm listening." None of this was supposed to happen this way. It got out of control. Trevor said it would just be a few clients, a little extra money. Then it became more. Then it became everything. You still made the choice. I know I did. But you have to understand, I felt trapped. You were never home. I was alone all the time. The gym became my escape. And Trevor, she trailed off. "Trevor what? He made me feel important, like I mattered. Just divorced. You didn't need to commit fraud. You didn't need to plan my death. I wasn't going to go through with it. Emails were just things we said when we were angry or drunk. I never would have actually hurt you." The forensic accountant found timelines, schedule, specific dates and method. That's not fantasy, that's premeditation. Silence on the line. I could hear her breathing, ragged and uneven. "My lawyer says I'm looking at 15 to 20 years. Federal charges don't fuck around." "No, they don't. Will you help me? Talk to the prosecutor? Tell them I wasn't the ringleader? That Trevor manipulated me?" I laughed. Couldn't help it. "You're asking me to commit perjury now? I'm asking you to save me. I'm your wife. You stopped being my wife the moment you opened that bank account with stolen identities. You stopped being my wife when you started planning my murder. You stopped being my wife a long time ago, Veronica. Please." She was crying now. Real tears this time, not the manufactured kind. "I'm begging you. I can't go to prison. I can't survive there. You should have thought about that before you decided to become a criminal." I hung up, blocked the number, sat in the dark for a while, letting it all sink in. The next morning, I went to work. Normal shift, normal calls, chest pain on 3rd Street, diabetic emergency at the mall, teenager with a broken ankle at the skate park. My partner, Rodriguez, kept looking at me sideways. "What?" I finally asked. "You're all over the news, man. Your wife, the fraud, everything. How are you even here? What else am I supposed to do? Sit at home and feel sorry for myself? Most people would. I'm not most people." We grabbed lunch at the taco truck on Harrison. Rodriguez kept checking his phone, reading updates about the case. Says here they've identified 63 victims now. Some of them lost over $100,000. That's what happens when you steal from vulnerable people. Says Trevor's cooperating fully, giving up names, passwords, everything. Of course he is. He's looking at 30 years. He'd sell his own mother for a reduced sentence. What about your wife? Ex-wife? Soon. And I don't know. Don't care. That wasn't entirely true. Part of me still cared. The part that remembered our first date, our wedding day, the way she used to laugh at my bad jokes, but that woman was gone. Maybe she'd never really existed. Maybe I'd been in love with an illusion. That afternoon, we responded to a call at a senior living facility. Woman in her 70s reported confusion and distress. When we arrived, she was sitting in her apartment, surrounded by paperwork, crying. "I don't understand," she kept saying. How could this happen? Identity theft. Her credit cards had been maxed out, bank accounts emptied. Someone had even taken out a car loan in her name. Rodriguez handled the medical assessment while I looked at her paperwork. The charges were recent, within the last month, but the patterns were familiar. The same shell companies, the same fake businesses. Ma'am, I said gently, have you been to a gym recently? Signed up for any new fitness programs? She looked confused. My grandson got me a membership for my birthday. Said I needed to be more active. I went twice. The trainer was very nice. Asked me for my insurance information, my address, everything. My blood ran cold. What was the trainer's name? Brian, I think. Or Brian. Nice young man. Very handsome. I took photos of her documents, texted them to Agent Foster. She called back within minutes. Where are you? She asked. Senior facility on Oak Street, responding to a medical call. That's not Veronica or Trevor. Those accounts are different. I know. This is someone new. Same methods, same patterns, but different operator. Give me the address. We're sending agents now. Rodriguez and I stayed with the woman until the FBI arrived. They took her statement, collected her documents, and assured her they'd recover as much of her money as possible. There's more of them, Agent Foster said as we stood outside. Trevor's been training other people, teaching them the same scams. We thought we'd shut it down, but it's bigger than we realized. How much bigger? We're finding victims in 3 states now, maybe more. I drove home that night feeling sick. Veronica and Trevor weren't just criminals. They were teachers, spreading their poison to others, creating an entire network of fraud. My phone rang as I pulled into my driveway. My lawyer. They want to offer Veronica a deal, he said. What kind of deal? She gives up everyone in the network. Every name, every victim, every account. In exchange, they reduce her sentence to 7 years. That's it? 7 years for destroying dozens of lives? Federal prosecutors want the whole organization. They're willing to negotiate. Tell them no. It's not up to you. It's Veronica's decision. Then tell them I won't support it. I won't testify on her behalf. I won't help her get a lighter sentence. She's going to take the deal anyway. Her lawyer's already drafting the agreement. Of course she was. Veronica always knew how to save herself. The trial happened 6 months later. I testified 3 times. Sat in that courtroom and told the truth about every lie, every deception, every stolen dollar. Veronica wore navy blue suits and pearl earrings, looked innocent, vulnerable. Her lawyer painted her as a victim of Trevor's manipulation, said she'd been coerced, threatened, too afraid to say no. The prosecution destroyed that narrative, showed emails where Veronica had suggested new targets, bragged about her success rates, laughed about the stupid old people who trusted her. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts. Her parents sobbed in the gallery. Her mother screamed that it wasn't fair, that her baby was innocent. Security escorted them out. Sentencing came 2 months later. Despite the deal, despite her cooperation, the judge gave her 12 years, said she'd shown no real remorse, that her testimony against the others had been motivated purely by self-interest. Trevor got 25 years. The others got between 5 and 15, depending on their involvement. I didn't attend the sentencing, didn't need to see her face when they read the verdict. My lawyer called me with the results. It's over, he said. Finally over. Yeah, but it didn't feel over. It felt empty. I sold the house 6 months later. Too many memories, too many ghosts. Bought a smaller place across town, closer to work, closer to my parents. Started dating again after a year. Nothing serious, just coffee dates and casual dinners. Testing the waters, learning to trust again. Rodriguez set me up with his wife's cousin, elementary school teacher. Kind eyes, soft voice. We went to dinner at an Italian place downtown. So, she said after we'd ordered, I Googled you. Of course you did. That was quite a story. Are you okay? Getting there. Must be hard to trust people now. It is, but I'm trying. She smiled. That's all any of us can do. We dated for 3 months. She was patient, understanding, never pushed. But eventually she said she couldn't compete with my past, that I wasn't ready. She was right. I threw myself into work, extra shifts, overtime, anything to avoid going home to an empty house. Rodriguez cornered me in the locker room one day. You're going to burn out. I'm fine. You're working 60 hours a week. That's not fine. What else am I supposed to do? Live. Move on. Stop punishing yourself for her mistakes. I'm not punishing myself. Then what do you call this? I didn't have an answer. That night I drove to my parents' house. Dad was in the garage working on an old motorcycle. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and joined him. We worked in silence for a while. Comfortable. Easy. She wrote me a letter, I finally said. From prison. Asking for forgiveness. Dad wiped his hands on a rag. What did you say? Nothing. Haven't responded. You don't owe her anything. I know. But part of me wonders if I should. If forgiveness would help me move on. Forgiveness isn't for her benefit. It's for yours. You forgive her when you're ready, not when she asks for it. Simple wisdom. Dad specialized in it. I'm tired, I said. Tired of being angry. Tired of looking over my shoulder. Tired of wondering if everyone I meet is going to betray me. That's what she took from you. Not just money or property. She took your ability to trust. How do I get it back? Time. And the right person. Someone who proves every day that they're worth the risk. I finished my beer, helped Dad close up the garage, drove home feeling lighter than I had in months. 2 years after the arrest, I met someone new. Hospital administrator. Smart. Funny. No baggage. Well, normal baggage. Nothing criminal. Her name was Olivia. She asked me out first. Coffee in the hospital cafeteria between shifts. I've seen you around, she said. You're the paramedic who brings patients cookies on their birthday. How do you know about that? I make it my business to know about the good people in this hospital. We talked for an hour, then another. Lost track of time until her pager went off. Emergency board meeting, she said, rolling her eyes. Want to do this again? Yeah, I do. We took it slow, really slow. 6 months before we even kissed. A year before I told her about Veronica. All of it. Every detail. Every betrayal. She listened without judgment, held my hand across the table, said, "Thank you for trusting me with that. You're not scared off? Should I be?" Most people would be. I'm not most people. We got married 3 years later. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. My nephew was the ring bearer. My niece scattered flower petals. Dad officiated. Got ordained online specifically for the occasion. "Do you take this woman," he said, grinning, "to be your lawfully wedded wife, knowing full well she's going to make you clean the gutters and eat vegetables?" Olivia laughed. I laughed. Everyone laughed. "I do." "And do you take this man knowing he works weird hours and will probably track mud through your house?" "I do." We honeymooned in Iceland, saw the northern lights, hiked glaciers, soaked in hot springs, lived in the moment. No past, no future, just us. On our last night, sitting in a restaurant overlooking Reykjavik, Olivia raised her glass. "To new beginnings," she said. "To new beginnings." I got a letter 6 months after the wedding from Veronica. She'd been transferred to a minimum security facility, eligible for parole in 4 more years. The letter was different this time. No excuses, no justification, just apologies. "I destroyed your life," she wrote. "I destroyed my own life. I destroyed so many lives. There's nothing I can say that will make it right. Nothing I can do to earn your forgiveness. But I want you to know that I think about it every day. Every single day. I think about the people I hurt, the trust I broke, the futures I ruined. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to know that I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry." Olivia found me reading it in the kitchen. "Is that from her?" I nodded. "What are you going to do?" I looked at my wife, her kind eyes, her patient smile, her unwavering support. "Nothing," I said. "Absolutely nothing." I folded the letter and put it in the drawer, closed it, moved on. Because that's what you do when someone destroys your life. You build a new one, a better one. You surround yourself with people who deserve your trust. You work on yourself. You heal. And eventually one day, you wake up and realize you're happy. Really, truly happy. Not because you got revenge. Not because justice was served. But because you survived. 5 years after the arrest, I got promoted to shift supervisor. Rodriguez threw me a party. Cheap beer and cheaper pizza in the station break room. "Speech!" everyone chanted. I stood up feeling awkward and grateful. "I've learned a lot in this job," I said. "About emergencies, about saving lives, about showing up when people need you most. But the biggest lesson came from my personal life. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best thing. If Veronica hadn't betrayed me, I never would have learned how strong I am. I never would have appreciated the people who stood by me. I never would have met Olivia." Everyone raised their cups, cheered, made inappropriate jokes about my marriage. Normal, beautiful, home. That night, I came home to find Olivia on the couch, laptop open, frowning at the screen. "What's wrong?" "I got a weird email today. Someone asking about you, about your experience with fraud victims." My stomach tightened. "What kind of email?" "A documentary filmmaker. They're doing a series on financial crimes. They want to interview you." "Absolutely not." I told them that. But they're persistent. Said your story could help other people. Warn them about the signs of fraud. I sat down next to her. "I don't want to relive that." "I know." I told them no, but the idea stuck with me. Over the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about it. About the elderly woman at the senior facility. About the other victims. About people who might be getting scammed right now, too embarrassed to speak up. I called the filmmaker. "I'll do the interview," I said. "On one condition. You focus on the victims, not on me. You tell their stories. Show people how to protect themselves." Deal. The documentary aired 8 months later. 2 hours. Dozens of interviews. Veronica appeared via prison video, giving her sanitized version of events. Trevor appeared too, claiming he'd been just as much a victim. But the real story came from the people they'd hurt. The woman who lost her retirement savings, the man who couldn't afford his medications, the family who lost their home. I appeared for maybe 10 minutes, told my story clinically, factually, no emotion, just information. "How did you move on?" the interviewer asked. I decided that being bitter wasn't the same as being strong. I decided that trusting again was brave, not stupid. I decided that my life was worth more than my anger. The documentary won awards, sparked conversations, led to policy changes about gym membership fraud, and it helped. People reached out, thanked me, shared their own stories. One woman wrote, "I was about to sign up for personal training at a gym. Something felt off. Then I saw your documentary. I asked more questions. The trainer got defensive. I walked away. A month later, they were arrested for identity theft. You saved me. That made it worth it." 7 years after the arrest, I got a call from Agent Foster. "Veronica's up for parole," she said. "They're having a hearing next month. And the prosecutor wants to know if you'll attend. Speak against her release." I looked at Olivia, who was in the kitchen making dinner. Our kitchen, our home, our life. "No," I said. "I won't." "Are you sure? Your testimony could make a difference." "I'm sure. What she did to me is over. She'll live with the consequences. I'm not going to spend another minute of my life focused on her." "I understand. For what it's worth, I think she'll get denied anyway. Her prison record isn't great. That's not my problem anymore." Veronica was denied parole. I heard about it through my lawyer. Apparently, she'd been written up multiple times for bad behavior, refused to participate in rehabilitation programs, still maintained she'd been the victim. Some people never learn. 10 years after the arrest, I was promoted to deputy chief. Big office, real desk. Responsibilities beyond just responding to calls. My nephew graduated high school. My niece got into medical school. My parents celebrated their 50th anniversary. Olivia and I bought a bigger house, started talking about kids. Life moved forward. One day I was cleaning out the garage and found a box I'd forgotten about. Old photos from my first marriage. I almost threw them away. Then I stopped. These were part of my history, part of my story. Not the good parts, but still mine. I called my brother. Remember when Veronica served me divorce papers on Christmas? How could I forget? Mom cried for 3 days. Best thing that ever happened to me. Seriously? Seriously. If she hadn't done that, I'd still be trapped in a miserable marriage. I'd never have met Olivia. I'd never have learned what real love looks like. That's a hell of a silver lining. The biggest. I put the photos back in the box, stored them in the attic. Not to remember, just to acknowledge. This happened. It was terrible. But I survived. And that's the real ending to the story. Not revenge, not justice, just survival. Just moving forward. Just building something new from the ashes of something broken. Veronica got out of prison after serving 8 years. I heard about it from Rodriguez, who saw a news article. Says she's living in a halfway house, working at a call center. Good for her. You're not curious? Not even a little bit. Because I'd meant what I said. She wasn't my problem anymore. My life had moved on, grown, transformed into something better than I'd ever imagined. That night, I went home to Olivia. Told her about Veronica's release. How do you feel? She asked. Nothing. I feel nothing. That's probably healthy. Probably. We ordered takeout, watched a movie, fell asleep on the couch together. Normal, simple, perfect. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise, made coffee, sat on the back porch watching the sky change colors. Somewhere out there, Veronica was starting her new life, dealing with the consequences of her choices, living with what she'd done. But that was her journey. Mine was right here, in this house, with this woman, with this life I'd built from nothing. And you know what? It was pretty damn good. Better than anything I'd had before. Better than I'd ever imagined. Because sometimes the worst betrayal leads to the best discovery. You're stronger than you think. You're braver than you know. And you deserve better than what you settled for. Christmas morning, exactly 10 years after Veronica served me divorce papers, I woke up next to Olivia. Our 1-year-old daughter was crying in the next room. I got up, picked her up, held her close. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. She grabbed my face with her tiny hands, smiled that toothless smile. And I realized something. This was the gift I'd been waiting for all along. Not revenge, not justice, not even vindication. Just this. Just love, just family, just home. 10 years ago, my wife ruined Christmas by serving me divorce papers. Today, I celebrated Christmas with my actual family, the one I chose, the one that chose me back. And that's how a nightmare became a blessing. That's how betrayal became freedom. That's how the worst day of my life led to the best years of my life. So yeah, Veronica served me divorce papers on Christmas Day. But when she opened my gift, her smirk vanished. And when I opened mine, 10 years later, surrounded by people who actually loved me, I finally understood what happiness really meant.